Papa? Oh, God. After what I'd gone through, I thought I could face anything, but not this. My father, the one person in the whole world who I truly admired, standing with Carchon, while those murderers carried on with their evil work. My father, grinning at the camera. I couldn't believe it. I realized that I desperately needed to get to the bottom of this story, and that I really needed George.
The woman was doing something with a pair of needles that couldn't be described as knitting. Oh, hi.
Bonjour, monsieur. Would you like me to foretell your future?
No thanks.
I'm very good. It only takes a minute.
Thanks all the same, but I'm not superstitious. Besides, if it only takes a minute, that's not much of a future to look forward to. Are the flowers for sale?
Oui, monsieur.
Okay. I'll take a bunch of those white ones.
I wouldn't do that if I was you.
No?
They are lilies, monsieur. Some people associate them with death.
Yikes. Thanks for telling me. What other flowers do you have?
Dahlias?
What do they signify?
Insecurity?
I don't want to give her the wrong idea about me. What about the tall yellow ones?
Those are iris, the flame of passion.
And the little yellow ones?
Sensuality.
Well, they're no use to me. I want to make an impression, not jump down her throat. Do you know a young woman called Nico Collard?
Yes, I do. She lives upstairs from me in the apartment block across the street. The door isn't locked, but you'll need to give it a gentle nudge. It sticks, you see, because of the damp. The landlord said he'd fix it before winter sets in. He's been saying that for 3 years.
How long has Mademoiselle Collard lived here?
A few months. She's in for a shock when the cold weather comes. Drafty windows, insufficient heating. It's a struggle to keep warm. The only reason I stay is because the rent is cheap. Your young lady, she deserves better.
I thought Mademoiselle Collard was a successful photographer.
Not as successful as she makes out for all her fine clothes. Oh, I've heard her crying herself to sleep at night.
That's awful.
Now don't you let on that I've told you. She's proud, that one. Too proud, if you ask me.
Have you seen anyone out here watching Mademoiselle Collard's apartment?
Yes, I have. A strange man. Tall and thin as a broomstick. He kept his face hidden, but I saw his eyes peering from evil little slits.
How was he dressed?
A long brown raincoat with an hat.
Or like Humphrey Bogart?
Yes, but he didn't have Bogart's charisma. Besides, this guy looked like he needed a toilet. You never saw Bogart clenching his buttocks like that.
Is there anything else you can tell me about Mademoiselle Collard?
No, monsieur.
I've changed my mind. Will you tell my fortune?
You're going on a long journey.
My, oh my. What a surprise. Can you tell me anything I don't already know? See you later.
That's right, monsieur. You will.
It was the door to Nico's apartment. Remembering the flower seller's advice, I pushed the door gently just above the lock.
Hi.
Bonjour. I'm glad you could make it, monsieur.
Please, call me George.
Fine. I'm Nicole. Take a seat, George. Eh bien? And what have you been up to?
I've been exploring the sewers underneath the cafe.
I thought I could smell something bad.
The clown used the sewer to escape and to change out of his costume. I guess he was in a hurry. He left his jacket behind.
And?
I got his tailor's phone number.
You had better luck than I did.
Luck, she said. Luck. Hard work, I'd call it. What happened?
My editor told me to drop this story. Can you believe it?
But you're not going to do that.
Oh no. I'm going to find out what's behind these killings. It just doesn't add up. It almost feels like some sort of conspiracy. The police in 3 different countries have kept very quiet about the murders. The press don't connect them at all. They blame them on political, religious, or militant minority extremists.
Well, that covers just about everyone. Tell me more about the clown's previous victims.
The first was Arnaud Bellotta, the millionaire pharmaceutical baron. He made his money from amphetamines in the post-war slimming and diet boom. Imagine it, millions of housewives literally speeding their butts off. The only witness in the case was his Filipino au pair. She swears he was lured to his death by a snowman.
What about the clown's second victim?
Yamada, the controversial Japanese politician. He inherited his fortune from his father's electrochemical consortium.
How did he die?
At the hands, or should I say flippers, of a giant emperor penguin.
A snowman, a penguin, and now a clown.
I had been about to add mine to the list, but stopped myself. I really didn't want to have to explain to George about my father's involvement with Carchon.
You know, I hate to admit it, but this is scary. And I'll tell you this, I will not be accepting any invitations to costume parties.
I don't blame you for being scared. I am too. But this story could be my only chance for a big break.
Or an early death. I found this false nose in the sewer.
Hey, what's this inside it?
The contents of someone's nose?
Don't be cross, George. It says La Risée du Monde. Masks and costumes. It's a costume shop near the Gare Saint-Lazare.
I'll check it out. Maybe the owner remembers who hired the clown costume. I found a piece of material near the cafe. When I showed it to the concierge, he recognized it right away.
It's very distinctive, all right. Just wait until you see this. I developed a film I shot at the cafe. Here, George, it's an enlargement I made. Look what that guy's wearing.
Checkered pants. The same material as I found in the sewer.
That's right. This guy shouldn't be difficult to find.
Oh, no?
Take a close look at his right cheek.
A scar in the shape of a horseshoe.
Or a crescent moon.
How come you enlarged this photograph of me?
Because I noticed the guy behind you, of course.
Tell me more about yourself.
There's nothing much to tell.
Well, how'd you get into photography?
I guess I owe that to my father. He bought me my first camera. I was 8, and my parents had just split up.
Did you live with your father?
Yes. My mother went off with her new boyfriend. I didn't mind. Papa was all I needed. 4 years later, he died in a plane crash.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right. I don't mind talking about him. He was more like an older brother, really. Always joking and laughing. Papa always wanted me to study art. That's why I went to college.
Did you learn about photography at college?
God, no. I couldn't afford the materials. We were billed for everything we used. Paint, canvas, paper. Most of my year turned to minimalism. It was cheaper. I used to go poaching in the park for squirrel hair. The only time I wasn't hungry was the term I did printing. I used to eat the potatoes.
You're making fun of me, aren't you?
Oh, no.
I have to go.
Okay. I'll see you later.
It was an antique phonograph, the kind you have to wind by hand. The guy's spoon-shaped face was mournful and humorless. He looked like a vegetarian in a slaughterhouse. Excuse me?
Bonjour, monsieur. Please, come in. Welcome. Leave the mundane world behind, for in these four walls, fantasy is king.
I don't want a costume.
Didn't you ever dress up when you were a child?
Not that I remember.
Incredible! You'll be telling me next that you never shared your elder sister's lingerie.
I don't have a sister, and I think I'd look pretty silly in a brassiere. I just need some information.
Of course. How can I help you?
I'm looking for a man who hired a clown costume from you.
Oui, monsieur. I do not see how I can help.
Don't you keep a record of costumes that you've rented out?
Of course, monsieur, but...
Well, then, I'd like to check your records. Give me the names of everyone who's rented a clown suit.
Impossible. There are too many.
Do you want this red nose back?
Not after it's been worn, thank you.
Do you recognize this man?
Oui, monsieur. I sold him some grease paint.
Have you heard of a man named Plantile?
I do not recall anyone of that name.
Does this dirty tissue mean anything to you?
Let me smell that. Bestheimer's number 7 white pancake.
Theatrical grease paint, right?
Oui, monsieur. La crème de la crème of Thespian accoutrement.
Have you sold any of it recently?
Yes, 2 cans.
Do you recognize this man?
Ah oui, he was here this morning. That is the man to whom I sold the grease paint. I remember the scar on his face. He chose 2 costumes. Bozo the clown and Seamus the pixie.
A pixie?
Very smart. Green silk with a taffeta lining. He gave me his name as Monsieur Kahn.
Thanks for your help, buddy.
My pleasure, monsieur. Allow me to shake you by the hand.
Huh? Well, okay. What are you trying to do, kill me?
You did not find it amusing?
I never saw the funny side of electroshock therapy.
Eh bien, it is yours to keep. A gift?
Do I need a license?
No, but I give you a word of warning, monsieur.
What?
Remember to switch it off before you visit the toilet.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
I found this tissue down the sewer.
That's disgusting, George.
No. I think the stuff on it is grease paint, like actors use, or clowns.
It's still disgusting. Get rid of it.
I have to go.
Okay, I'll see you later.
was just some police paperwork, a search warrant. It was Rosso's sidekick, Sergeant Moo.
Excuse me, Sergeant.
What do you want now?
Is Rosso here?
Yes, he is. You wish to speak to him?
Yes, I do.
One moment, monsieur. It's Stobbart, monsieur. He insists on talking to you again.
Did he say what it was about?
No, monsieur.
Very well.
Hi, Inspector. Remember me?
But of course, Mr. Stobbart. My mind is a well-ordered faculty. A mental classification system that's the envy of the Bibliothèque Nationale. No tricks, mark you, monsieur. Just exercise. Just as our muscles waste through inactivity, so our minds decay. But there is no need. If only people would learn to exercise their wits daily.
If he was trying to impress me, it worked. He was pompous and patronizing, but he had style.
Eh bien, if you called about the bombing, you're too late. Investigations have been closed.
But
I've been taken off the case.
what about the murderer, the dead guy?
It is out of my hands.
Did you find out the ID of the guy who was killed in the explosion?
I already knew who he was.
I heard that the bomb victim's name was Plantar.
Your sources are reliable.
He was a big shot at the Treasury, wasn't he? Maybe that's why you've been taken off the case.
I'm sorry, monsieur. I cannot comment.
Don't you want to know what I found out about the killer?
I told you, monsieur, the case is closed. I have washed my hands of the whole affair.
Then I'll have to continue my investigations without your help.
No. You must forget the business of the crown completely. Go back to being an ordinary tourist, Stobbart.
So long, Inspector.
Do you know a man named Kahn? He's a shifty-looking guy with a scar on his right cheek.
No, monsieur. Has this man any connection with the bombing of the cafe?
Yes. I believe Kahn was the name he used when he hired the clown costume. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, monsieur.
It's the guy who bombed the cafe. The clown.
This man looks nothing like a clown.
He's taken off his grease paint and costume.
Then there is nothing to link this man with the killing.
Nothing? Look at those murderous eyes.
Hardly likely to get him convicted.
See you later, Sergeant.
Hello? Who is this?
Mr. Todrick?
Oh, it's you again. What now?
The man I'm looking for is called Kahn. He bought a suit from you, remember?
Mr. Kahn. Yes, I remember him. Yes, I delivered the suit to his hotel. The Hotel Ubu. I don't remember the room number. It was upstairs. The second room on the right-hand side of the corridor.
Thanks, Todrick. That's all I wanted to know.
Now I've got you, Mr. Clown.
The man looked like an amiable Bigfoot. The guy looked just like a weasel. The clerk wore a disdainful expression, like he'd been born with it. I want some information.
Who are you? The police?
I'm conducting a private investigation.
Ah, I know only too well what you mean. That is one of the drawbacks of the catering business. When people book into an hotel, they leave their morals at home, no?
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
Yes, monsieur. That man is one of our guests.
What name?
I cannot tell you that.
Do you have a guest by the name of Kahn?
No, monsieur. Perhaps you would care to check the register.
I'm looking for a man who dresses like a clown.
This is a highly respectable hotel, monsieur. There are no clowns here.
If you say so. Do you know a man named Plantar?
No, monsieur.
The man who calls himself Kahn has a scar on his right cheek.
Vraiment? I tell you, I do not know a man named Kahn.
Maybe not, but I noticed a change in his expression when I mentioned the scar.
There was no one registered under the name of Kahn. If the killer was staying here, he'd used a different pseudonym. Hanging from a brass hook was a key and a plastic tag. I recognized the guy. It was the Nobel Prize winner from the country whose name I couldn't pronounce. Excuse me, didn't I see your picture in the news? You're that Nobel Prize winner from some unpronounceable Eastern European state.
Yes, that is me, in person.
I don't want to worry you, but have you had any threats on your life? You know, mysterious phone calls, letters made up of headlines cut from the newspaper.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you know a guy called Plantar?
I don't know anybody in Paris.
Oh, well, this guy's dead anyhow.
Why do you ask me about dead men? I have seen enough of death to last me a lifetime.
I'm, sure you have. Do you recognize this man? He calls himself Kahn.
Yes, I know this man. Why do you carry his photograph?
I'm a private detective. What's your interest in Kahn?
He is an enemy of my people.
You know he's a killer.
Of course, amongst other things.
Would you help me investigate Kahn?
That is not possible. My instructions are to observe. I cannot jeopardize my position as an honored guest of this country's government.
Have you seen a clown?
I beg your pardon?
The clown. A guy in funny pants. Have you seen him?
My pants are from England, Marks and Spencer. They are a pleasure and a comfort to wear, with much support.
I'm real glad to hear that. You know, it's good to know you Nobel Prize winners are human too.
In my country, the people make do with string and egg cartoons.
For pants?
For everything. Oppression is the mother of ingenuity.
Thanks for your help.
Goodbye.
The woman was obviously English. She had all the qualities of Boadicea, Elizabeth I, and Margaret Thatcher rolled into one. It wasn't a pretty sight. Hi there, ma'am.
Well, hello. What can I do for you?
I'm looking for a man.
You disappoint me, my dear. For one foolish moment I thought... But never mind. Aren't you going to tell me your name?
George Stobbart, ma'am.
How sweet! I once had a stable boy called George. I am Lady Piermont. The common reaction is to kneel and stutter, but it's not obligatory.
A real lady? I mean, you're an honest-to-God aristocrat?
Oh, I don't know about that. Few of my ancestors are honest, not even to God. I can trace my family back to the Normans, But don't let that intimidate you, George. Beneath that impressive pedigree, I'm just flesh and blood. The blood may be blue, but the flesh is the plump beef of old England, so to speak. You appear distracted, George. Is there any way I can help you?
Are you here in Paris on vacation?
No, darling, I'm on holiday. I needed to get away after Algy's funeral.
I didn't realize you were mourning the loss of a loved one.
I'm not. He was my husband.
I'm sorry to hear about your husband's death.
You wouldn't be if you knew him, my dear. It gave me the opportunity to take a well-deserved holiday. Daphne suggested a change of scenery. Paris, she said. A wild romance is just what you need to take your mind off the inquest. Well, the closest I came to romance was being wooed by a drunken Breton chef. I must say I was disappointed with his coq au vin. Not at all what I was expecting. I was thinking of cutting my holiday short, packing my bags and heading back to Hemel Hempstead. That was until last night.
What happened to you last night?
I was stricken, Mr. Stobbart. Cupid's arrow has cleft my bosom.
They couldn't really miss.
It was just as I'd always imagined it should be. The intimacy of candlelight, romantic music tinkling across the room, and then a stranger's glance. Those brooding eyes, that suave manner, those tight trousers. He was the man I'd been waiting for all my life.
I'm glad he finally turned up after all these years.
Ah, but it wasn't to be. He was merely toying with my affections. And if I ever catch up with him, he's dead.
Who was the guy who led you on?
His name is Merlin.
Did you know there's a gangster out front?
What makes you think he's a gangster?
The Italian suit and the bulge in his pocket?
I know plenty of men with Italian suits and bulges in their pockets. That doesn't necessarily make them gangsters.
I'm looking for a murderer.
Good heavens! You're a private detective.
That's correct, ma'am.
What's the term you Americans use? It's on the tip of my tongue.
I believe what you're thinking of is Dick.
Precisely.
Have you come across a man who calls himself Kahn?
I am familiar with only one person named Kahn.
Genghis Khan, the legendary Mongol barbarian chieftain?
No, darling. Kevin.
Kevin Khan? I never heard of him.
I'd be most surprised if you had, darling. He's a pharmacist in Hemel Hempstead. Organises fundraising for the Rotarians. Lovely man.
Does he have a scar on his cheek?
I really wouldn't know, sweetie.
Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
My God, it's him! That's Merlin.
She represented everything I loved about the English. The lady was totally deranged. Merlin? You mean King Arthur's wizard?
Good heavens, no! Monsieur Merlin is a fellow guest. He's the man I've been telling you about. That's the man who spurned me.
The man you know as Merlin is a fake.
What do you mean, sweetie?
He's a murderer. He also uses the name Kahn.
I am shocked, Mr. Stobbart. Shaken. I took him to be a gentleman, a man of honour. Do you know, I'd rather like to assist you in stitching him up.
When did you last see Merlin?
It was no more than an hour ago. He came downstairs and spoke to that clerk chappie. Something passed hands. I couldn't see what exactly.
A briefcase?
No, smaller than that. A bundle of papers, perhaps. The clerk put it in the hotel safe and Merlin went out.
Are you sure you saw Merlin putting documents in the safe?
Yes, darling, positive.
I wonder what they were.
Obviously something of great importance.
Yeah. I'd sure like to get my hands on whatever it is. I'll bet they had something to do with Plantar's briefcase. Has Merlin returned to the hotel?
No, he hasn't. Are you going to search his room?
If I could get in there, I would. There was no one registered under the name of Kahn, but the name in the book for room 22 was Merlin.
What now, monsieur?
I believe Kahn, the man with the scar, is also known as Merlin, the man who has taken room 22.
What of it? What do you want?
Access to his room.
Do you have a license, monsieur?
Huh?
A private investigator's license?
Well, not exactly, but I can explain everything.
I am sorry, but without credentials, I cannot help.
I insist you give me the key to Merlin's room.
I cannot do that, monsieur.
This guy Merlin is a menace.
So you say, monsieur.
He's not only a danger to society, but to your guests as well. He has toyed with the affections of Lady Piermont.
Ciel! Are there no depths to which he will not sink?
Precisely. I'd like to retrieve something from your safe.
Ah, oui, monsieur. May I see some form of identification?
Like what?
A driving license, perhaps?
I don't drive.
Your passport?
I don't have it with me. I could show you my operation scar.
I'm sorry, monsieur. I must have some form of unique ID.
You won't find a more unique ID than my scar.
I'm sorry. I must insist on a more traditional identification.
Rats. He's already killed once, twice, maybe as many as 3 times. With your help, I just might be able to stop him.
But what if he finds out I have helped you? No, I cannot do it.
If the tailor's description was correct, this was the killer's room. The sign on the door read 22. The sign on the door read 22. The door was locked. The door was locked. The sign on the door read 21. Hanging from a brass hook was a key.
Excusez-moi, monsieur.
What?
You were trying to steal that key, no?
No way.
What now, monsieur?
About the key hanging on the hook over there.
Oui, monsieur.
Which room is it for?
Number 21.
Is that room taken?
No. The guests checked out this morning.
I'd like to check into room 21.
That is not possible.
How come? You said it was vacant.
It is reserved for another guest.
Rats.
No, monsieur. Dutch.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello, George. What can I do for you now?
Would you distract the clerk while I borrow a key?
Are you asking me to aid you in a criminal act, darling?
Oh, no. It's the key to an empty room.
And why, may I ask, do you wish to gain access to an empty room? Do you plan to squat?
No, ma'am.
Scouts honor?
I was never in the Boy Scouts, ma'am.
Oh, you should have been. What were your parents thinking of? It's a fine way for a boy to get licked into shape. Now tell me, why do you want to get into that room?
It's next to the room the killer is using.
Ah, so you plan to eavesdrop on Merlin?
I was hoping there might be a connecting door.
Well, how can I refuse? I shouldn't think my feminine charms would be much use in this case, but a good dose of English arrogance might do the trick. I say! You there? Flunky!
Oui, madame.
Listen carefully. You do understand English, don't you?
But of course, madame.
Good. I wish to deposit some jewellery for safekeeping.
I understand.
Are you quite certain?
Oh, bien sûr, madame.
Over to you, my dear.
Just a minute, monsieur.
What's your problem?
No problem, if you cooperate.
What do you want?
Just a routine security check. Nothing to worry yourself about.
Oh, well, all right.
Search him, Flap.
You bet.
Hey, knock it off. Get off, you big ape.
Nothing, Guido. Zilch.
Our apologies, monsieur.
What? I ought to report you to the authorities.
Round here, we are the authorities.
You want I should break his arms?
No. Let him go, Flap.
Hey, Shorty, I didn't think much of your trick, little man. I don't know what you're looking for, but you picked on the wrong guy. Maybe you'll spread the word around the sewers. George Stobbart is on the case. That's Stobbart. 2 B's and 2 T's. It sounded impressive to me, but the weasel didn't seem to share my enthusiasm. Still, I figured he'd think twice before gunning me down in the street in cold blood.
I do not like your tone.
Oh, yeah? And what are you going to do about it?
If you do not go away, I will gun you down in cold blood, right here in the street, without thinking twice about it.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello, George. What can I do for you now?
That gangster I told you about? He went through my pockets just now.
Good heavens! One never knows what to expect in foreign parts. Thank you for the warning, young man. I shall hide my credit cards in my underwear.
Maybe it wasn't the right room, but this was the right key. There was nothing in the wardrobe apart from a vague, lingering smell of camphor. The cabinet was empty, but it smelt of onions. No kidding, it really did. The closet was a solid, impressive piece of antique furniture. The bed was freshly made, and the crisp white sheets told me nothing about the killer's habits. It was the battered leather briefcase I'd seen Plantar carrying just before he died. I searched the interior of the briefcase,
But, as I'd half expected, it was empty. The bed was several times larger than the narrow cot I'd been given at the place I was staying. The assassin had been too smart to leave incriminating evidence beside his bed. The closet was a The closet It was Kahn. I had the kind of feeling in my stomach that would usually send me running to the bathroom. As Kahn opened the wardrobe, I was sure I was dead. But he grabbed his pants quickly and didn't even see me. I didn't usually spy on men getting changed. But this guy was a killer, and I didn't want any surprises. He left his checkered pants on the bed. I had that kind of feeling you only get from searching still warm pants. The pocket was empty. There was nothing in the pocket. A strip along the side seam of the pants had been unpicked, then sewn back up with strong thread and a special stitch. A strip, then sewn. I flipped the pants over. I found nothing in the pocket. I found an ordinary matchbook. No matches, no clues. But as I pulled it from the pocket, a strong thread came with it. A thread with a metal tag on the end. I pulled on the metal tag and the thread came out of the pants. It was like pulling out a ripcord. I turned the pants over again. I searched the pocket gingerly and found a pass card. It read, Thomas Merlin, Gruber Electronics Corporation. There was nothing in the pocket. There was nothing else in the secret pocket. I turned the pants over again. I found nothing in the... The matchbook bore a pattern of swirling color and the words, Club Alamut. It was the card I'd found in the hotel bedroom. It read, Thomas Merlin, Gruber Electronics Corporation.
What now, monsieur?
I've just been manhandled by a gorilla.
Yes? I do not see any signs of a gorilla.
No, not a real gorilla. It was a guy who looked like a gorilla. It happened right out front of this building.
Let me get this quite clear. Are you complaining or bragging?
I want to know what you're going to do about it. The scrawny one has a gun.
I suggest you contact the police.
Can't you do anything about them?
What goes on in the streets of Paris is hardly my responsibility.
Aren't you concerned that your guests are being intimidated by gangsters?
No one else has complained, monsieur? Did they steal anything from you?
Well, no. They didn't find what they were looking for.
What was that?
I don't know. I don't think they did either. Does this matchbook mean anything to you?
No, monsieur.
Does this pass mean anything to you?
That is Monsieur Merlin's property.
That's right. Merlin the murderer. I want to see what he's left in your safe.
Impossible. I cannot betray his confidence, no matter what you say he's done.
You're making a big mistake.
Maybe. I can live with that. A murderer? Are you sure?
Positive. Do you recognize this key?
That is the property of the Hotel Ubu.
Correct.
May I ask how it found its way from the little hook to your pocket?
Would you believe it was put there by a poltergeist?
No, monsieur. The hotel is regularly serviced by an exorcist. If we had a ghost, Father Fécond would have flushed it out.
I suppose you want the key back.
Not especiellement. The room is vacant. Since you are so determined to conduct your little investigation, I won't stop you.
Hey, shake my hand.
I'd rather not, monsieur. I'm still sore from the shock administered by one of the guests. He was secretly concealing an electrical device in the palm of his hand. Practical jokes are so puerile, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, sure. Hello again. Do you recognize this card?
No, I do not.
Does the name on this matchbook mean anything to you?
Indeed it does, for Alamut was the home of the old man of the mountains. You do not know him?
No, I don't. This is a photo of Kahn, right?
That is just one of the names by which he is known.
Thanks for your help.
Goodbye.
Hi, ma'am.
Hello, George. What can I do for you now?
I found this pass in Merlin's room.
So, that deceitful little man is passing himself off as an electrician, is he?
Uh-huh. This guy probably has a million faces. I showed the pass to the clerk, hoping he'd give me Merlin's papers, but he wouldn't buy it. He's too scared.
I'll give him something to be scared of. Follow me, George! Did you place a package from Merlin in the hotel safe?
I did, madame.
And did my friend here show you Merlin's identification?
Indeed he did, but
What's the problem?
he isn't Merlin.
A mere academic detail. Give him the package.
But that is against the law.
I happen to be a justice of the peace, you silly man. I am the law. If he tries anything, shoot him, George.
My pleasure, Lady Piermont.
One moment, please.
You know, I haven't enjoyed myself this much since Greenham Common.
I don't know what I would have done without you, Lady Piermont.
Voilà, monsieur. Le manuscrit de Monsieur Merlin.
Thanks.
How satisfying. An Anglo-American alliance that actually worked.
The clerk had given me a tightly rolled sheet of parchment. I decided not to unroll it until I was safely back in Nico's apartment. It was the ancient manuscript which Kahn had stolen from Plantow. Hi, ma'am.
Hello, George. What can I do for you now?
This is what Merlin was so keen to hide.
Really? Well, that's fast for a sample of wallpaper.
It's some kind of manuscript, and it looks to be very old.
If I was you, I'd keep it well out of sight until you're clear of this place.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I could roll it up and put it down my pants.
No, that wouldn't do at all. You'd attract far too much attention.
I couldn't leave the hotel with the manuscript. It was probably what those thugs were looking for. I knew this was no way to treat an ancient manuscript, but I couldn't let it fall into the hands of the goons waiting outside.
Hold it right there. Search him again, Flap.
Nothing, Guido.
Okay, let him go.
If the manuscript was what Flap and Guido were after, they were going to be disappointed. I couldn't wait to get back to Nico's apartment and check it out. Hi, how are you?
Oh, hi. Come in, George.
What are you doing to help trace the killer clown?
Research, George.
Yeah? You have a copy of the clown's yearbook?
I have a telephone and lots of contacts.
Oh, well, did you find anything useful?
Not yet. I'm employing my first and most useful weapon.
What's that?
Patience.
Oh, I've heard of that. Isn't it a substitute for decisive thinking? Do you have a boyfriend?
Not anymore. There was someone. A guy in my final year, but it didn't work out. Neither did my degree.
I'm sorry.
I'm not.
You're just not going to believe what I've found.
It's not another part of the clown's costume, is it?
It's a medieval manuscript. Kahn left it in the safe at the Ubu.
It's incredible. Is this what he took from Plantark?
It could be, which means it's worth enough to kill for.
Look there, two guys on the same horse.
Oh, yeah. Maybe they couldn't afford one each. What of it?
Have you ever heard of the Knights Templar? Their official seal was an image of two knights sharing a horse. Whatever this manuscript means, it's connected with the Templars.
How come you know about these knights?
I learned about them while writing an article on the Crusades. This guy, named Hughes de Payen, arrived one day at the court of King of Jerusalem. He offered to protect the Christian pilgrims from the displaced Muslim armies. The king would be able to guarantee safe transit to Christians in the Holy Land. Safer journeys meant more pilgrims, and pilgrims meant trade and wealth. The Templars proved invaluable to the king as a mercenary army. It was said that they never asked how many the enemy numbered, just where they were. And as the years went by, the Templars grew in wealth and numbers. They were so rich, even kings came to them for loans. But at the height of their power, they fell foul of the King of France. He rounded them up and turned them over to the Inquisition. Thousands of Templars were subject to torture and confessed to heresy. Of course, at the hands of the Inquisition, there wasn't much they wouldn't confess to. The last Grand Master Jacques de Molay was burned alive. But the treasure of the Knights Templar was never found.
Jeez. So the treasure is hidden, waiting to be discovered?
If there ever was a treasure, it's been lost for 600 years. Anyway, we're supposed to be investigating a serial killer, not a medieval treasure trove.
But maybe that's what the clown and his accomplices are after. Maybe this manuscript is the key.
You'd better leave it here for safekeeping.
Let's take another look at the manuscript. A knight with a crystal ball. Now, there's something written on the scroll beside the knight.
Yes, but it's written in Latin. Per disciplinam mea lux videbis.
By my teachings, you will see the light.
You speak Latin? Where did you learn a trick like that?
A trick? I studied law, okay? I can read Latin.
My, you're touchy. Tell me that again.
There's a woman looking at her reflection in a mirror, but the reflection has 3 hideous faces.
She reminds me of the wicked queen in Snow White.
She was the one who said, "Mirror, mirror on the wall," wasn't she? She made me cry so much when I was a kid. Mom carried me out of the movie theater.
She didn't frighten me in the least.
Like I said, I was only a kid. I didn't like the crocodile in Peter Pan either. There's a guy working on a loom. He's weaving a carpet or a tapestry.
Or a duvet cover. It's a clue to a place, I reckon. Somewhere famed for weaving and ships.
Where folk live in barrels?
It beats copper boxes.
There's a guy with a sword and a bull.
The only mythological bull I know of is the Minotaur, but he was only half bull.
I don't think I'd like to be half a bull, even if it was the bottom half.
What's that object between them?
It looks like a gem on top of a tripod.
Look there, 2 guys on the same horse. Let's face it, we need help, George. Someone who knows about these things.
Who do you suggest? Indiana Jones?
I know a guy who specializes in medieval studies. His name is Lobino.
Huh. Some stuffy old fossil who gets horny over ancient relics, I suppose.
Far from it. Andre isn't the stereotypical professor you have in mind.
Where can I find this Lobino guy?
At the Krone Museum. I'll give you the address.
Tell me more about your family.
When I was a little girl, I used to spend the winter with my grandfather and grandma. They were the best times, warm and safe in their tiny cottage. My grandfather rolled cigarettes while Grandma made hot chocolate and cakes. One day, he stopped his scrolling. He put the lid back on his tobacco jar and took me in his arms. I laughed and wriggled, but he hushed me to be silent. With his unshaven chin all scratchy in my ear, he told me his secret.
What did he say?
He said, "I don't smoke, but she likes to think I do."
What a weird old man.
Don't call my grandfather weird. He was the nicest guy ever. I wish I was back in that cottage instead of this crummy apartment in this noisy city.
I have to go.
Okay. Don't forget to look for Lobino at the Krone Museum.